again, I'm Ryan Bennett with Hearing Asset Advisors. Today, continuing along with our overview of the audiology industry, we're going to go over the different patient options. Some of these things might be things you do in the clinic, and others might be considered competition. So I'm going to tread really lightly today because there's polarizing opinions on some of these options that the patients have. So let's get into it. Okay, so this first one, third party or managed care. What this means is a patient might come in and say they have an insurance benefit, but what they really have is more of a discount program, or their insurance has an agreement with one of these companies you see here on the screen, like Here.com, Here USA, to where they can buy the hearing aids at a lower price and feel like it's using their insurance. And sometimes the insurance is adding to the benefit, and a lot of times it's just a discounted program, kind of disguised as insurance. The problem with it is your clinic is simply the middleman. You'll do the testing, you'll recommend, but then if they decide to buy hearing aids, they're buying directly from a True Hearing or Epic, and you're fitting them. And for those services that your clinic provides, you get a fitting fee. And you don't get as much say over the overall care because it's stipulated by the third party. Before your first day at an audiology clinic, you probably had never heard of Resound or Signia or Widex or any of the main manufacturers. But I wouldn't be surprised if you've heard of Miracle Ear or Beltone. And the reason for that is they're franchises. They have locations all over the country, they've been around for decades, and they've been marketing heavily, building that brand name. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Beltone is not exactly a Beltone. They have a sister company that you probably sell in your clinic for a little bit less than what a Beltone sells for. Same technology, same hearing aid, but they rename it as a Beltone. And the problem with that is they lock that software. So people who have a Beltone hearing aid can only go to Beltone places to have any kind of adjustments done. If someone comes into your office and hands you a hearing aid and you go, "Oh, I know this hearing aid," but then you turn it over and it says Beltone, you can't really do much with it other than cleaning, because the software is locked. Even though it looks a lot like a hearing aid you sell in your office, if it says Beltone on it, it has to go back to a Beltone place. And speaking of locked hearing aids, big box stores do this as well. So if you buy a hearing aid at Costco, then you have to go back to Costco to have it adjusted. But there's a lot of confusion about what really goes on in these big box stores for hearing aids. A lot of people think it's just over-the-counter hearing aids, which they do have, but they also have a sound booth and a provider, and they'll do full hearing tests and fittings and fitting verification. But the technology is a little bit different. For instance, Sam's Club, they use a manufacturer that is not even in the big six, so the quality is quite a bit lower. Costco will use some of the main manufacturers, but they'll take away features, or they'll use their sister brand and make a Costco version of their type of hearing aid. So it's not the same hearing aid, and a lot of times when people are going to big box stores, either they don't really fully understand how much of the aftercare that goes into hearing aids and the expertise that goes into it really matters. So a lot of times it's just a financial motivation to go into one of these big box stores for their hearing loss. There's actually a lot to unpack here with over-the-counter hearing aids, but up until a few years ago, these hearing aids on the shelf it wasn't legal to call them hearing aids because they weren't being fit under the care of a hearing health care provider. And so they had to be called amplifiers, basically. And that's kind of all they were. It's amplifiers. If you look at the picture above my head, that guy is wearing an old amplifier, and when people say, "I found some hearing aids for $200 in a magazine," or "Amazon has some for $49, That's probably what they're getting. Now, after the law passed to where you didn't need to see a hearing healthcare provider anymore, that's whenever the game kind of changed to where you might see actual hearing aids, like the one in the middle there, that are pre-programmed for like a mild loss, mild, moderate loss, mild loss. But what you'll come to find out in audiology is every frequency has to be tuned exactly to that person's hearing loss. And what these are in the middle are pre-programmed guess. They're guessing that this person will have this loss. And man, that rarely works. Because as you'll also come to find out is people will come back and complain, what you want them to. You want them to say, okay, now you've got the hearing aids, you've worn it for 2 weeks. Now what do we need to fix? What's bothering you? And so then you make the adjustments, and you continue to make adjustments for years to come with your hearing devices. With over-the-counter hearing aids, it's a guess that's probably not correct, and you don't get to go back to, have adjustments. So you're just stuck with it. Now, yeah, it might be $500 versus $5,000, but the problem with it is it's $500 that's probably not going to work versus $5,000 that is going to work. So that's the problem with over-the-counter hearing aids. And the biggest threat with it is people trying over-the-counter hearing aids. If they go and try over-the-counter hearing aids and they don't work, the threat there is that they'll think that all hearing aids don't work. But no, it's those hearing aids don't work. Up until a few years ago, those couldn't even be called hearing aids, but those don't work. And then on the right, you've probably heard about the new Apple II AirPods that can do a hearing test and has some hearing aid features that, while that is true, it's hard to wear AirPods all day, and it's not a prescribed, prescription hearing aid that's constantly being adjusted and you're seeking care for. But what I do like about it is more people are aware, and so people are aware of their hearing loss. Like a kid might put those AirPods on their parents and say, "Do a hearing test." Ha ha ha! See, I told you you have a hearing loss. And then they go and get actual hearing aids. So I don't mind that AirPods are doing that, but it's not a full-time solution to hearing loss. And finally, private pay. Private pay is what your clinic likely wants the most of. And it can be someone paying out of pocket. It can also be in conjunction with a actual insurance benefit, like they pay 80% because of their company's plan, and they still buy them from you. It's just the insurance helps them pay for it. These are the main brands: Signia, Oticon, Widex, Phonak, Resound, Starkey. There are plenty of others, and some will buy each other out, and there's all kinds of movement. But these are the main big ones. What's nice about these is in your clinic, these are not de-featured. They are the main top brand with all the features. And your audiologist, your dispenser, whoever the provider is, has complete control. They're not bound by a third-party protocol. They have complete control, and they typically have a pretty good relationship with the manufacturer. They know the rep. They know the people who fix the hearing aids at the manufacturing plant. And so they can call in favors. Hey, my guy lost his charger. Can you help me out? There's a lot of reasons to want to get more private pay over everything else we talked about previously. But it's also some of the hardest to get because third party is growing so much. The big box stores people know about. Over the counter is out there. So it's more competition for private pay than it used to be. So whenever they do come in, you definitely want to make sure that they are treated accordingly, because they are very valuable patients to have in your clinic. As always, thank you for watching, and if you need to reach out to me, I am Ryan B. at hearingassetadvisors.com. Thanks.